Welcome to Tech at Lunch, the podcast that satisfies your hunger for all things tech while you enjoy your midday meal. So grab your sandwich, tune in, and let's dig in. Hello, I'm Nick.
Hello, I'm Ed.
And, we don't have John with us tonight. He wasn't feeling too hot. If you can't tell, I got some sinus stuff going on. So, it's one of those days. I think everybody's come down with the token crud, around here. So, but, we're kind of getting in towards the end of the year. Getting ready for, the holidays and stuff like that. So, first and foremost, I want to wish everybody happy holidays. Because we're going to hear this video, you're going to hear this podcast, and then you're not going to hear another one for a little bit. Because we're going through the Christmas time over here. So we're going to, spend time with family and friends and stuff like that. And, watch some college football bowl games and stuff like that. And
Go Bama.
Go with that. So sometimes I want to say go Georgia, but, I'm a Penn State fan, so I can't say much. But, the thing is, this week we kind of wanted to end kind of the year with a thought. STEM and workforce development. So we always hear, workforce development and stuff like that across, organizations and stuff like that. How do I develop my workforce to handle issues of the future? Be more prepared. Be able to respond when the need arises to new technology and new problems and new, pieces of the puzzle that I guess you could say would pop in. But the thing is this is just me thinking here, is that majority of the time we're starting doing workforce development, the one thing that we kind of forget about is the STEM portion of it. It's not like, STEM is only reserved for your engineers or your maintenance personnel. I think being able to educate the actual, workers, if you're in a manufacturing environment, in STEM, is a great way to help build that, double backbone mentality of if something goes down and maintenance personnel can't make it there, then somebody on the line is able to step in and, get it, at least troubleshoot the issue while waiting for somebody else to arrive. So what do you think of it?
So I think in STEM we have to look at it from a different approach. Typically, we've done STEM for maybe trying to get someone to be interested in engineering, or maybe someone to be interested in aeronautical, or things like civil engineering and things like that. And I think we have not really looked at like the manufacturing environment. And when I say the manufacturing environment, it's not just like if we're producing vehicles. I mean everything from like when we do processes on like petroleum, making pharmaceuticals. You have to be able to have a ecosystem in place, and I think that's one of the areas that maybe we haven't quite been creative enough.
I think so too.
I think when we start talking about, I don't think it's just the operator, mm-hmm. or the line keeper or the line tenant or sale op, whatever you call that right. person. I think all the way from management. Mm-hmm. Management should understand generally, just like everybody understands generally how to get in a car that's taking some kind of test to be able to get a license to drive a car. Mm-hmm. They understand the basics of how to operate that car.
Like a yearly tech refresher?
Yes, but I mean like it's actually an assessment that you understand how the manufacturing process works.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like even the operator should know the mission statement for a company should be that everybody understand the process, and by understanding the process, we understand the goals of the company.
Right.
So if every person in the company, not a SME, but they understand what the goal is, mm-hmm. then of course you can have line keepers or sale ops that can take care of problems, and maintenance can focus on improvements, continuous improvement, or maintenance can figure out how can we offer ideas to engineers to come up with some redesigns, and then engineers can go to management and say, hey, here's something we can do to be more efficient. And then managers can go to senior level management and say, hey, we discovered these things from all these people by enabling these people with these tools. Mm-hmm. Now we have become a more efficient plant.
And the thing is I agree with that 100%. And the thing is, I think we don't even just stop at your line keepers or your line tenants. I think going all the way down to the operator, the actual person putting the parts and the jigs. Mm-hmm. If you're in a jig environment, or the person putting chemical to to additive, mm-hmm. or anything like that, because that person's going to understand that process. They're going to know what they're doing on a daily basis. And if you train them to understand STEM, the agile methodology, what is lean manufacturing, and you start rolling these people into that type of stuff, what is 5S, and get them kind of interested in it. And then you get them to say, hey, guess what? Maybe we can think about doing this. Maybe we can prototype this, because I think this will make it easier on me. And you start building that person up from a line worker to a line keeper, possibly, if they want to go that route, to maintenance, to engineer, or from line op to engineering department, mm-hmm. that understands, or production engineering, for that matter, that understands how these things work. Sometimes it gets kind of hilarious when you get people who are, production engineers or line engineers who come in who have no clue how the process works. They come in, we're going to change this, and now we got to do crouched over, about touching his toes. Guys, this is not going to work. But on occasion you get the line op guy that go, or your operator that goes, hey, guess what? Maybe we should try this. It'll work a little better. Okay, cool. Let's build the platform up. To assist.
Right.
But, the thing is I think if we start at the lowest common denominator, like you said, and work down and up, we can build not just continuous improvement, but a continuous update cycle. And you can start actually, it's going to sound cliche, I guess you could say, but it's using the agile methodology for line-side improvements.
So, like I said, normally, even in say when we have a beehive, every part of that beehive, that function, has something that they do.
Right.
All the way up to the queen. So, I think here's where it marries. If I start at my company when I do onboarding, explaining to everybody the importance of how the mechanism works. The onboarding is not to get a person to put something in a jig to produce a part.
Right.
My initial approach is the person understands what is supposed to happen in that process, how to identify when that process breaks down, and how to be able to give information to an analyst that can use the information in a agile platform,
right,
that can use. So agile is a high level affair,
right,
but we need low level things to feed back. We need tentacles. So the tentacles are the line keepers, the operators, the maintenance technicians, the engineers that's on the shop floor, whether they're production side or maintenance side, right, and the managers. All of those tentacles have to feed back to the source that's doing the agile method, because they are going to have a documentation. They are trained in that.
Right.
Now, each person needs to understand agile,
mm-hmm.
but we should have one group that is controlling agile. And then from that cycle works the way it's supposed to, and the next time I build a plant, or if I need to show these improvements to my other plants, now we have a system that we can say, hey, we are improving because we have documented this mm-hmm. improvement.
Right. And the thing is, with that, you can also show employee growth. You can show workforce development. How many of these guys have been involved in projects that mm-hmm. Have grown bigger and better. The big thing is, I think that like you said, go back to the onboarding process is kind of push continuous curiosity, because I think if you're continuously curious about why this process works this way, you always want to figure out a way, how do I improve it? How do I make myself faster? How do I make this process faster? How do I make it more efficient? How do I make it have higher quality? Breeding continuous curiosity leads to continuous development. Because the thing is like you have to have the ideas, and those ideas are going to turn into a spit bucket where it's like, okay, cool, I got this idea, this idea, this idea. And you take that, look at it, and you push those forward for continuous development, and you kind of see how that goes, and you wrap it back around. Eventually it comes back. You have a prototype line that you set it all up on. And you see what works, and what doesn't work. But I think the continuous curiosity, and that's something that I think you may hear that more coming out of us now. Because it's something that STEM is. It's continuous curiosity that you always want to learn. And I think using that to hit all the wickets is another way of saying, hey, guess what? We want you to keep learning your job, your process, your procedures, but we want your help.
Mm. And here's the thing. This is from my experience for working in automotive for nearly 20 years. And actually working in industrial control systems for nearly 30 years. What I've noticed is the focus is always on the eggs.
Yeah.
We always focus on producing a certain amount of eggs, but nobody care about how many of those eggs get cracked. So if I produce 100 dozen eggs and I crack 10 dozen of those eggs, that's a loss.
Right.
And the reason it's a loss because we're more concerned with a person putting a part into a fixture than we are with that person being a subject matter analyst.
Yep.
Industry 4.0 is going to be a game changer, and if people do not wake up and get out of the 90s and the double aughts, you're going to be left behind, because what's happening is if you do not understand these things, what I mean, getting away from subject matter experts to subject matter analysts, what that gives you is I want somebody to tell me what is going on with the data. Yeah. Look at the data and tell me what's happening. To you, what did this anomaly say? Based on your experience with the equipment and based on your years of experience with whatever technology you are an expert in. I don't care about, hey, that PLC over there uses FCs and FBs, or uses an add-on instruction. That's not important.
Right.
If I look at it as a framework, and I analyze it as a framework, an analyst can give the data to the necessary people that have the expertise to understand what that analyst is deciphering for them.
Right.
Now we can move those things out of the process. And not only do we get rid of it on the floor today, it is eliminated tomorrow.
Right. And the thing is, I think with, Industry 4.0 coming, Industry 4.0 is, you're going to see an advent and STEM-based manufacturing. Because it's going to force smart manufacturing. It's going to force IoT. It's going to force your MQTT trains. It's going to force your advanced analytics, your data is the new oil, techniques and stuff that you're working with. It's going to force, edge computing. It's going to force AI to come into the process a little bit more now. Is it something that everybody's going to go to? Probably not. Some companies just can't afford it. However, some of the bigger companies are going to adapt. If you really want to go read the article, it's in, I think I've posted it once before on one of our Industry 4.0 podcasts we did. We talked about it came from from Germany, and then from the head of, I guess, the technology department in the German government. But the thing is, it's going to have not just adverse effects. I really don't think anything adding technology to a process is going to create adverse effects. It's going to show you the raw truth. You can say I'm running at this efficiency, or I'm running at this FTE or FTC. However, when you look at it with data, you can be 20% less or 20% more. It uncovers the truth that's possibly hidden by bad numbers. But the thing is with that, even that process breeds that continuous curiosity of, okay, cool, can I add a sensor here? And training your workforce on the STEM platform that is Industry 4.0 is another way of saying, hey, guess what? We want you all to be involved. Because, I can tell you that there's people out there who don't feel like they're involved in a company's growth. They don't know what the future is of that company. I think bringing them in making sure the management understands the process first, bringing them in and saying, hey, guess what? This is how we want you to be involved in our future, hands on. It's just how it goes, and I think that you get people all excited about it because they get to work with something new. These people may never have seen this stuff before. You may not get somebody who worked on the line who's ever heard of MQTT or sensors or IoT or any of this stuff.
Right.
Unless they're used to having an Alexa.
Yeah.
But the thing is you get them involved, you get them excited. Guess what? You just bred a new engineer. You just bred somebody who's going to go home, who may be a parent, that talks to their kids, gets their kids excited about the process. And their kids go and, learn something new, and then go become an engineer or, a maintenance engineer or robot tech or, something like that because they care, because they're interested.
And from my experience, that the way technology is today on the manufacturing floor, on the plant floor, is there are typically, I would say, 3 to 5 levels of what I call subject matter experts. So if we go to the highest level, there is a decision subject matter expert. We go to the next level, there is a planning phase, organization phase. So basically, your engineering department
Right.
that's planning the next phase of growth.
Right.
Then we get into what I call your managerial or business subject matter experts.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get down to the two that are really the people that I would say are the linchpin to helping a company be as efficient as they can be, because you have subject matter analysts. So you have basically a recovery and parameterization expert.
Yeah.
And then you have an expert that understands how the machinery work every day, all day, all the time, because
Right.
they're tending
staring
the
at it.
machine.
Right.
They know when a machine makes a different sound that it hadn't made before. They understand when something stops short.
Mm-hmm.
They may not know the technical term for the fault that is being displayed, but they understand that something has went awry in that process. So you have a process subject matter expert. And so if I'm able to take Industry 4.0, use unified namespaces, and have one center of truth where nobody can mess with the data. The data is the data.
Yeah, data doesn't lie. Data doesn't do well.
And if I can sanitize the data, formalize the data, or normalize the data,
Yeah.
where I'm getting what I need, and with a unified namespace, I only ask for the data that I requested. I don't care about the million of other requests because it's not a polling system.
Right.
I am only interested if, hey, we had this line that's not producing at 80%, and it's been doing that for the last month. Why?
Yeah.
Those are the things you want to know, because then not only can you identify what the problem is,
Mm-hmm.
you can get a committee of people together out of all of these SMEs to resolve the problem by putting all of their unique expertise together to come up with something that can resolve the problem, or at least say, hey, this requires a design redo. We
Right.
need to redesign this.
And the thing is I don't think that's it's ever going to take away from the good old fashioned walk and talk, and the hey line side visit, station visit. Hey, show me what's up with going on here. I've seen you had a little bit of downtime. Explain to me what's up. And the thing is that sometimes where just having educated conversations, I think, with the line keepers, your operators, kind of comes in handy, because that's data. You're extracting data, and I really am a proponent of going through and having these conversations with people. Having a friendly conversation, but at the same time I'm pulling data. I'm trying to gain as much data as I can. What do you think we can do better here? And write that down. What do you think we can do to improve this line process. What do you think we can do to, keep this moving forward?
Right.
And then, so it's, having those conversations is getting that data, that first-hand account information, and then finally be able to make a decision on, okay, cool, what type of software do we need? If I'm talking about from the IT side. But, then you start getting into the, okay, cool, hey, this robot does this, and it's not supposed to do this. We're getting way too much, heat on a weld spot, if it has to move this far. Maybe, okay, cool, maybe we need to look at it a little bit deeper. That there may be a short, or the heaters come on at, at a wrong time, or something like that. That's only information that we know by, A, looking at data, B, investigating the root cause of it, and also C, talking to the people that's on the floor that see this happen. That see it come to heat when it comes in, instead of heating up when it makes contact.
Right.
It's that type of stuff. It's not saying that, the old school way, the old fashioned way of doing things is wrong, because it's still 100% plausible. It's, the problem is we go from, now that we're going to Industry 4.0, we're going more from reactive to proactive maintenance, and proactive decision making instead of reactive. So we didn't know the data at that point in time. And then, so what that does, that helps us take that proactiveness that we're getting to train the workforce and do STEM workforce education, to get these guys understanding, this is what this data means, this is what this data point is, this is where this data point's located, this is my, plus and minus variables that I'm looking for, and that type of stuff. Getting those people interested in that, and, kind of really working through that process, because I think that, using Industry 4.0, using Unified Namespace, using, all the data that we can get, wrapping that all into a STEM curriculum for people in your plant, you now just, one, made a more educated employee. Two, you made an employee who's actually having fun. And then that employee's going to help your business grow, because happier the employee is happier the business. Who cares about the business at the end of the day? Is the employee happy? Yep, okay, we're good. Employee making money?
Yep.
Employee have a future? Guess what? No one gives a shit.
What?
Business is going to stay around for a long time at that point.
And I think the big thing we got to take from, like, Industry 4.0, when we're saying these things like unified namespace, and we're talking about one center of truth, and we're talking about not having to poll 1,000,000 times, over a certain time frame. What we're saying is you're basically going to be able to target those things. So the low-hanging fruit that everybody goes around and do, hey, let's put up, let's make some a 1-point lesson. Let's put up visual management. Let's do audits. That's all low-hanging fruit. But that's not the real hanging fruit. Yeah. The real low-hanging fruit is, we never thought about when we designed this fixture that this part could be turned opposite, in an opposite orientation than we needed to be in. Correct. Those are things that you can find out by looking at the data. Yeah. You can take the data, instead of saying, hey, well, this person needs to put the part in right. Yes, that's true. And all the things I just said about, visual management, 1-point lessons, walkthroughs, audits of the process, that's nice. But it would be nice if we had some way to fix that part to be in a orientation in the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
We should design in the way we want the process to work. So we should have some safeguards in place to ensure that the process can work as best as we can.
And the thing is that also goes back to the fact of, having a prepared and trained workforce, because they can tell you, hey, guess what? This isn't supposed to do this, guys. Help me out here. If I put it in here, it kind of slips and moves around. It's it's not being compatible. Can we build a bracket here? And those guys will understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's like, the thing is, if you train them in STEM and basic design, they can actually cardboard stencil it for you and say, guess what? This is what I need.
Mm.
Can you guys go ahead and cut this for me and put into play and go from there.
And you should be able to take your mistakes that you made from prior plans and feed that data forward through your blockchain. And say, hey, this is something that caused us a problem in our blockchain.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? This caused us something in our, this caused us to lose profit. those things should automatically go in the next review for that project.
Yeah.
Just like when we release some type of application or we use some service, some service in the web or whatever.
Yep.
You should, hey, this is lessons learned. We definitely need to have a process for when we roll out an update. And there definitely should be a immediate process to roll back that said update. I mean, and that should be built into your, hey, we had this particular application. Ooh, he really complicated.
Yeah.
We better have a mitigation strategy in place for him.
Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Or better known as piss poor planning prevents proper performance. Depending on which way that route you want to go, it depends on which way you're in. Because you can train for the stuff, you can train for everything that's coming ahead of you, but if you don't put the time in to plan it out, guess what? You're still gonna have the long run. You're still gonna have freaking subpar performance. And the thing is that's why for me, I'm very into delving money into the employee. Paying for an educational branch of an employee that and especially in a workforce that understands the general basics and understands a little bit more than general basics. Because now I'm planning and also doing succession planning at the same time. So I'm getting all these people trained because if somebody quits, this person moves up. Somebody quits, next person moves up. Guess what? I got a self-licking lollipop. But I also have people who are interested, who want to keep coming to work every day, who aren't going to no-show me, who aren't going to take, a month off and, who knows where. I don't care if you take a month off. But the thing is, it's like, be useful. That's the other thing. I also am a big proponent of how Netflix does some things. Because, for example, Netflix does the unlimited PTO. I think that also well-rested employees and STEM-driven employees make a better product. Because you go back to the happiness cycle again.
So it's basically incentivize your company. But I think one of the inherent problems with when we talk about people and some of the things we're talking about, when we're talking a loading station.
Yeah.
And you're having a person continuously put a part in a machine for 8 hours. Okay, if that's what you have and you do not have automation, you should at least rotate that person out of that process so it's a different process they do.
Yep.
This is part of the reason that manufacturing, in particular automotive has not learned their lessons. The only place where automotive has learned their lessons with that, where they still have craftsmen that build vehicles that are over 100,000 a year, and it's only 20,000 people buying this car a year.
Now, what do they call that? Process burnout?
So I'm saying, like, you should rotate these people through the process. And not only should you rotate them through the process, you should have a system in place to understand when that person is starting to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Or that person has forgotten some of the things you taught them.
Yeah.
You do not just teach a person. This is not fire and forget.
Yeah. Don't punish them for a mistake. Because they're burned out. You get, like you said, you get process burnout. Don't yell at them and give them some companies use demerits. We're back in the UK military here. You get a demerit. But the thing is don't be doing that crap because you get somebody who's burnt out. If they're burnt out, they're burnt out. Like you said, rotate them someplace else. Let them get fresh eyes on something. Let them learn something new, and then eventually bring them back to train the guy who's replacing them as they move forward.
And what does that do by backfilling another person behind that person? If that person is not there for someday because of an illness or because they've taken some time off, you have a person that has been trained in that process, and you do not have an issue that could cause some type of quality issue that gets to your end of line process, because we're only humans and the systems can only do so much.
Exactly. And, that's when you start getting into, you're technically creating a fourth shift. If you have 3 shifts, you're technically creating a fourth. Because you're doing all this train the trainer. So you may have 5 people in the same shift trained as the same at the same position.
Mm-hmm.
So you have group leaders who can fill in, team leads that can fill in. You're technically building by the amount of extra people you have trained in some of these stations. You have a technical force shift, so you should never be a man down. At any case, maybe more technical positions will be a man down because of the fact that they could rotate in and out depending on where they're at. Like in maintenance, you may be a man down because you don't have anybody who's a weld engineer, on site, who's not trained to be a weld engineer.
But
at least on that shift.
At the same time, you should always have a mitigation strategy in place that you have a deputy in place for each of those roles. Even if it's a maintenance technician that is what we call a specialist, that specialist should be being groomed to backfill that position in the event that that maintenance engineer moves on to, say, a planning role, or moves on to be a manager, or moves on to be in the business unit. But one other thing I want to touch on that I've seen that is useless is all of these Microsoft engineers. So what do I mean by that? I do not mean the corporation Microsoft. I mean all of these PowerPoint, Excel sheet generating people. Quit using these tools and use some analytical tools. Use Power BI. Figure out a different way to display information, and do not kill people by PowerPoint. Do not make a million sheets that nobody ever keep up with when you got an analytical tool like Power BI. And you have things in place that can track this data. Why are we still in 2023 manually entering data?
Cheap.
But it's not unnecessary.
Right. Oh, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
And if you're going to use an Excel sheet, automate the process. Create some script in Python so that the person is only dealing with the data and they don't have to extract the data, normalize the data, put the data in the sheet, organize the data, because this manager wants it one way, that manager wants it another way.
Yeah. If you're going to use Excel spreadsheets, learn pivot tables where it makes sense.
Well, even with that, like I said, if I got a million spreadsheets.
Yeah. Well, you can tie up spreadsheet to spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You only have one spreadsheet of truth, I guess. Because some companies can't afford Power BI, the Power BI plugins, stuff like that.
But they can't afford Python.
Yeah, they can do everything in that, but you then when you start getting into people who know how to do it. And the thing is teaching people is something that definitely can incentivize your workforce. But the thing is you're right. And a lot of people will do project management based off of Excel sheets.
Yep.
And that's plausible because the thing is most of your Excel plugins are the same thing that you have in Microsoft in the project. Microsoft Project.
Was it Visio?
No, Microsoft Project.
Yeah, you're right.
But
Visio is the flow chart.
Right. Which you can do most of that in PowerPoint if you can afford it. But I know some people are going to shoot me and say, "Oh no, that's not right. We can't do that. No, nope. I don't care what you say. Cool, Priest. These are the guys who are like, hey, guess what? I have to use this. No, you don't. You can use Excel.
Yeah.
Gantt charts and stuff like that. I can guess what I can do a Gantt chart in Excel. Congratulations. I can do workforce planning in Excel for project timelines and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna be devil's advocate. I'm gonna be Edward's advocate. Use all the Excel sheets you want. For God's sake, create a dashboard.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, create a dashboard. And it can all be done in Excel for free.
Yeah. You can also do Access.
I'm just saying, a dashboard updates itself. I ain't got to worry about it. You just take the data that's in the sheet, automatically update the dashboard. Everybody agrees on the format for the dashboard. The dashboard is what we're going to use. We're not going to be dragging up some Excel sheet, opening up this pivot table, doing, all. To me, that's unnecessary. That is what we did in the 80s. If you're still doing that, that's not even Industry 4.0. That is piss poor production. Even if you can't afford, make the thing a dashboard. Learn people.
Yeah.
Management. Learn other skills other than tasking somebody else to do something for you.
Yeah. And the thing is when we're really talking about workforce development and stuff like that, you really start getting into how can I train my guys to do this for me?
Yeah.
Or not for me, but for themselves. Do their own development. If they're in IT, let them learn how to do their own, development. If they're in, maintenance, how do they do their own development for the projects that they have to work on? Line side, you might not need that as much, but the basic understanding of mechanical engineering is kind of helpful. But so the thing is you can utilize a lot of different incentives. It's like always, like I say, also invest in courses. They might, and the thing is, invest in ones that aren't just corporate culture. I don't need a bunch of people around here that can recite your corporate ethos, because it doesn't really help you any. Or the corporate cybersecurity policy. We get it. Flag things that are phishing. We get that. If you've ever been in the military, you understand that you got the guy who walks around in a blue suit and freaking wearing a badge. You're going to play that stupid game of, the cybersecurity walkthrough game. However, utilize Udemy. Utilize stuff like that will give your employees the ability to learn a new task, a new trade, based off of what they did in Udemy. So, like, hey, guess what? I learned how to do this Python programming. Okay, cool. Add that to the promotion points. As far as for raises and stuff like that. And also, but give them the opportunity to, hey, if you can't use it for work, or if you used it for work, you can also use it for personal growth. And help them grow the knowledge tree. Because the thing is, it's going to come right back to you anyways. They're learning, you're helping them out, they're helping you out.
And I'll just touch on what Nick said, from just not to go too far into, like cybersecurity in particular, but that the architect has to understand how to dilute the information or the data down, or whatever you're trying to execute, to the analyst. It's the same thing in corporate. You have to understand how to take your business intelligence and dilute that down to something that your personnel that's on the shop floor can help you realize that dream.
Yeah.
So when you're at 40,000 feet in the plane, y'all can talk all of the 40,000 foot over the head you want to. But when you're talking to someone that's on the ground, that's supporting you, you better be able to dumb down that enough, or to make that utilitarian enough that person can understand it, right, to help you realize that, because you're not the one doing the work. You're the architect.
And don't stare at them like they got three eyes, when they try to explain to you something. Just because you don't understand what they're doing on the floor. I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen people walk up and, they explain something to somebody, and it's you can visually see crickets. Mm. You can hear it's one of those where this person is zoned out so much, you can hear the eyelids click, like a flash camera, right? Don't be that guy.
Right.
Ask questions. Don't stare at them like, oh, well, they'll eventually tell me what I need to know. No, ask questions, and be knowledgeable about what they're talking about. It's, don't be a flash camera,
right,
flash bulb. That's not something we need. Flash in the pan, not required. You can, happily work with these guys and still understand what they're talking about, because guess what? You may be an architect, you may be a manager, you may be all this, hubbub and crap. The guy on the floor knows the job better than you do. So don't think you don't know it. Because you can come down there and guess what? You are now the dumbest person on the floor. Because you have no clue what's going on. I can send an email. Well, congratulate. Can you build a van? Can you build a vehicle? Can you build a bicycle? No? Okay, guess what? Then you don't count.
I guess one of the things that I always keep in the back of my mind, if you can't explain it in 5 minutes to a 5-year-old, you don't understand what you're talking about.
Right.
If you're saying something like using some word that is only used if I'm writing some scholarly paper, you're in the wrong environment.
Right.
That's for a 4-year university. If you're in a plant, you better understand how to communicate in 5 ways. You better know how to understand how to explain to the person that's doing the process. You better know how to explain to the person that is the auditor of the process. You better understand how to explain to the person that helps maintain the process. You better understand the architect of the process. And you better understand the person that came up with the ideal to create whatever you were creating, to be able to talk to that person.
Right.
If you cannot talk in 5s, you don't know what you're talking about.
That makes sense. And, I 100% agree with that. It's like, understand your audience. Understand who you're talking to. And the thing is make sure, like my dad tells me all the time, is leave them with a smile. Because you're going to get more with sugar than you're going to get with vinegar. I guarantee it. If you need more information later, I'm not going to scream at nobody. Because the thing is, I may be upset with somebody for what they did on the line. But, the thing is, okay, cool, it happens. We're going to be truthful and tell them, hey, shit happens. Get over it. We're okay. We'll do the same thing again tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. But the thing is that person, now they're comfortable, and they're going to tell you when something's going wrong.
Right.
They're going to be, instead of clamming up and sitting in the corner going, well, I saw that coming 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I want them to tell me that, hey, guess what, dude, this is getting ready to break.
Or they won't listen.
Right.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that I've learned over time with a lot of people. Myself, I don't work in problems. I deal in solutions. You don't look at something as, hey, that person is causing a problem. Why is that happening first? What is happening? Why is it happening? What can we do to improve that process? If you're not approaching a problem that way, then you're not a problem solver. You're management.
Right.
If you're not approaching a problem as an opportunity to provide a solution, you're in the wrong role. And as a manager, you might be in the wrong role because your thing should be, why is this not happening? Who I need to get to make it happen? And what do we need to do to make it happen?
Right.
You should be asking yourself these same questions. It's not your job to solve it, but it is your job, just as in chess, to move the right pieces in the right order.
Right. And the thing is you do have some managers, caveat that, you do have some managers out there who want to be hands-on, who want to get their hands dirty, who want to still do work. Not sit in meetings and listen to a CEO run his trap all the time. But the thing is those, in this industry or in the manufacturing world and stuff like that are becoming very few, far between. We get, and I, me being, an academic person, we get more people who are, like from academia that fill these manager roles than people who are from, the industry. Like for me, I would not want a management role, in a manufacturing environment if I didn't work in the environment first. I've worked in manufacturing now going on 8 years now. And yeah, I'd be comfortable going to a management role, even coming from academia. But the thing is now, I understand the process. I can read a process. I know how that works. But the thing is that, you have these people out there who are getting your hands dirty, kind of working through the process, talking to people. They're not going to be authoritarian. They're going to be your SME managers who, understand the process, who can fix the process, and aren't concerned with going to meetings or writing emails, right, or, being disruptive. Because the one thing that you get most of the time, and I think the one thing that we see that hampers any type of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but any type of workforce development is when you get these managers walk in here who, demand, but have nothing to come back with it. And the thing is what that does, that stops people from learning. Because they never actually ask the person, what do you think?
Like I said, I think the big thing is we're still using the same paradigm that we had, I would say even 60 years ago. Nothing has changed in management since after World War II.
No,
It's the same. It's the same mentality. You know, all we care about is how many dozen of eggs we can get out of the plant. We don't care about how many we have to crack, how many get cracked. Well, how many more we need to produce to make up for the ones that's cracked.
Right.
All I care about is how many widgets I can produce. And that's the problem. You should be, how can I efficiently produce as many widgets that I can produce? And how can I ensure that I send exactly what I promised the customer?
Right. I think that, we've moved out of the golden age of manufacturing. You know, actively we left that well behind us. You know, we're kind of in the stagnant years, I guess, now that you can talk about it. But more or less, we're getting into technology development and, automated manufacturing and, the Teslas of the world. And how Blue Origin builds their things and how SpaceX builds theirs. And then how Relativity Space 3D prints rockets. You start getting into how, these stuff in the STEM community built companies, built manufacturing, built stuff that comes out about. The thing is that's because somebody at some company got interested in something else and decided to step out and say, hey, guess what? We can do this. Because they took an idea and ran with it. The thing is I guarantee you, inside of a company, you're going to have more people who are interested in, the STEM, methodology, as part of their development plan than you would, not doing it. You might be somebody you may get that, oh, crud, this dude's a freaking, a genius. Oh, he can take this job. And, who cares if he doesn't have a degree? But he's interested in it. He understands it. He knows the concepts. Move him into the role.
But like I said, that's because of World War II. Everybody is still using the same paradigm.
Right.
I would argue, unless that guy is an astrophysicist, a civil engineer, somebody building, something that's structural, an architect, designing electrical circuits or something like that. When you're talking automotive manufacturing, let's be real here. The level of engineering they need day to day is not the same level of engineering for making the plant.
Right. Or that they had, years ago.
Because the plant, yes, I need some people. My R&D department, I need some people that are classically trained.
Right.
But the problem is when you start to run the factory, you have nobody, or you have no plan to develop those subject matter analysts.
Right.
Your plan is produce, and then produce out of process.
Yep.
You allow production to say, hey, we didn't do so well on this, so we're gonna do that. No, you're gonna stick to the process, and we have to stop the line to resolve this problem and fix it, so that it's fixed for good, so that I don't have to have 3, 4, whatever hours, whether it's one event or cumulative.
Yeah. All
Fix
fixing.
the problem first, then let's do production.
Yeah.
In reason. We still have to make money.
Right.
And like I said, we kind of get into the end, we got a little bit off. But those things that we're talking about, we're saying it need to be taught early in the education process.
Yeah.
For people that are interested or have an affinity for solving problems and want to go into manufacturing.
And or the thing is, even the people who are already working in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have people in there, you're gonna find out real quick if these people, they enjoy it, they love it, or they have the knack for it. And the thing is take the ones that that absolutely love it. They live and breathe and work. What it is. They love the company. The ethos of the company, and breed and develop them to be your next generation engineer, your next generation manager. Because these guys are the ones that you turn to and say, hey, guess what? Help me out here. How does this process work? Well, this is where it does. Okay, cool. Now walk me through it.
And here's something I think. I think we're too caught up on titles.
Right. I can agree with that.
A type of engineering is a specialist.
Right.
A type of guy that has a knack for business is a business analyst.
Right.
You're too busy. I don't care if you have an MBA. What does a MBA do for me for making product go out of the plant just in time, right the first time, delivering what we promised to the customer, keeping the reputation and brand of the company? I don't care about what you did as a PhD. That does nothing for me to produce that product.
Right.
It's for you. Okay, if you want to be a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout, you can get all the badges you want. I want people that can do things. I don't want people that on LinkedIn they got 1,000 things that they did. Whoopee. Okay, you got a nice resume, but what can you do to help me realize my dream?
Yeah. And the thing is some of that, if we do see the glorious moments in some ways, resume, you can actually take that and try to breed that and say, hey, guess what? Okay, no, let's work through this. Maybe we can pull a skill out of there that we didn't know somebody had.
Yeah, mentoring. I think mentoring is a big part of it.
And I think that, doing yearly reviews of somebody's resume, it's, something they've done on the side. It's like, oh, we saw you did this. Well, maybe we can use that. What do you think about moving into this role? And grow them into a role that you may not already have. Something that may be needed, that you didn't think was needed. It's like, the thing is you may have, issues of where you may work into where you need zone cybersecurity guys. Somebody who works on every single zone in the plant that's responsible for the cybersecurity of just that zone. Zone 1, whatever, and all your conveyor technology. They're over only that particular technology and they learn it back to front to back.
Or same thing, but we cultivate that guy. We mentor that guy so that he has the tools to understand how to analyze the traffic in the plant.
Yeah.
So basically, you're having a guy that understands the equipment, that is given all the tools he needs, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's process control,
right,
whether it's business analyst, whatever it is, you're giving them those tools and letting them run with it. Here's the tools, here's the Swiss knife. How you use it is okay. As long as you stay in the confines of what we said, here's our vision. Stay in the vision. We're not using it for something outside of company needs.
Right.
Whatever's in company needs, if you can figure out a way to I would say, to make us as efficient as we can be a business, then yes, put those tools there.
Yeah, agree.
For everybody. But even the person that's cleaning the bathroom. You put tools in place that how can this make our company better? Yeah. Don't look at it as a cost. What benefit can I get from the cost that I'm spending?
We'll put a weight sensor on the toilet paper.
Or here's the thing, maybe the guy said, "Hey, I was in this airport overseas, and they had this airport that basically had a trash compactor." And when you put whatever material in this trash compactor, pushed it down, and then it sent a message to the person on their technology, and they knew when to come pick it up. And they had to do a round all the time.
Right.
It's on demand. Those are things I'm saying that you can do as a corporation to make yourself more efficient. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Yep. And I think that, I 100% agree with you, and that's kind of where we're going. Sorry, freaking sinuses just freaking flared up on me. But, I think that we've kind of come to the end of this week. And, with that, we want to say thank you to everybody, who's kind of listened in, who's been part of this process, who's, been with us from day one to now, and, we kind of look at it as a way of not just getting our ideas out there, but hopefully to help you and help y'all learn something. Go take a look at the YouTube channel. Go take a look at the blog. Go take a look at Printed Heritage. Some other stuff we're working on. We're at 2,120 all-time listeners. Not too long ago we were hoping for 2,000.
Yeah.
Before that we were hoping for 1,000. Guys, we are moving along and we're really getting on this journey. We're going to be doing a lot more. There may be a chance that, we set up a Discord at one point in time to So we can talk to y'all, really have these conversations. Really kind of, break out with what we kind of want to do and really get y'all invested in it. Like I said, pay attention to the YouTube channel. We have a lot more stuff coming. You're going to see a lot more data. The thing is, you're going to see a lot more about us. One thing that I am going to do is I'm going to do a series on, you hear Vulcanara Technology Solutions. So I'm going to do a whole series on, what are the company values? Why do we do what we do? Why are we the way we are? Why do we care about the process and care about the people instead of caring about the profits? Profits are nice, but
people
are
profit.
better. Right, exactly. But, I want to say thank you. We appreciate you. Continue listening. Hopefully, we'll talk to you next time. Go ahead.
And like I said, I'd just like to echo what Nick's saying. We have some ideas for some things. We would like to. I think we're not going to ask anymore. We're going to at some point next year do a live stream.
Yeah.
And we're going to see if we
Happy hour live stream.
Maybe we can get a lot of you guys that's listening to join in. We're going to try to figure out a time that kind of works with everybody. Yeah. Or maybe we'll do a few at a different time.
Yeah.
We're working out the logistics, but that's something that we're gonna really focus on next year, and we're also gonna see if we can set up a way to maybe do a gallery of prints. Whether it's prints from some of the friends we have, or prints from some of you guys, or prints that we did, and maybe we'll do like some kind of small video where we just kind of go through the top prints that we saw for that month.
Tag us on X. If you put up on Twitter, tag us on X, Vulcanara Tech. You'll see us on there. Tag us on that, and we'll definitely get back to you. So, all right, guys, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you later.
All right, bye.
That's all for this episode of Tech at Lunch. Thanks for tuning in and joining us for this tech-filled lunch break. We hope you enjoy the show, and don't forget to subscribe on all channels. And also, you can find us on YouTube under Vulcanara Technology Solutions. And join us for our next episode, which gets published every Wednesday at 8 a.m. All right, y'all. Have a good one. See you later.